You must be exhausted, Fred dear. Would you like to freshen up?
Yes, been quite a trip, it has.
Welcome to Ms. Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 TV shows we shouldn't have been watching as kids.
We've followed the Pied Piper of Hamsteak to the gates of oblivion, and look what it's brought us!
For this list, we're looking at the most notable television series from our youth with the inappropriate jokes that went right over our heads, as well as shows that still give us nightmares to this day. Which of these series traumatized you growing up? Let us know in the comments. Number 10, Jerry Springer. Say it with us now.
Jerry, Jerry, Jerry.
If you don't remember chanting Jerry Springer's name along with the studio audience as a child, you had a much more wholesome upbringing than we did. His talk show was the definition of trash TV, always ripe for fights, parent reveals, and other drama.
I don't know if my baby is AJ's or David's.
But America just couldn't get enough. This isn't one of those kid shows we later realized was disguising some pretty dirty joke. Oh no. This is just one of those shows that your mom had on, which meant that you had to watch it too. And it never tried to hide its lewdness.
Go back and get an education.
Put your teeth back in your mouth and I'll understand you.
Seriously, Springer coming down a stripper pole is an image we'll never forget. Number 9, Beavis and Butthead. With their iconic voices and even more iconic laughs, Beavis and Butthead were a staple in the household of any 90s kid.
Are you gonna laugh for the rest of your lives every time someone says the name Butt Kiss?
But while their dumb humor often made us laugh, a lot of the show went right over our heads. Beavis and Butthead followed the antics of two teenagers who did not care about anything but themselves and rock and roll.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yet behind all that adolescent indifference, the writers were hiding some pretty clever social commentary. Still, as kids, did we care about or even understand what Beavis and Butthead had to say about society? Did we care that watching the show was like looking into a mirror?
I am Cornholio. My bunghole will speak now.
Absolutely not. We just wanted some laughs. Number 8, The X-Files. If you've grown up believing in conspiracy theories, distrusting the government, and also believing that aliens definitely exist, you can thank The X-Files.
Do you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials?
Logically, I would have to say no.
This beloved 90s pop culture staple taught a generation of kids to question everything. But we were all too young to be watching it in the first place. We definitely did not understand the high level of espionage and cover-ups that were happening at the time.
Sometimes the only sane response to an insane world is insanity.
But watching Mulder and Scully solve mysteries was still the highlight of most of our weeks. And if there's one thing we did understand, it's that they were the epitome of true love. Number 7, Jackass. The true meaning of friendship, performing death-defying stunts together.
Hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville. Welcome to Jackass.
Names like Johnny Knoxville, Steve-O, and Wee Man will forever mean the world to those of us who grew up in the early 2000s. But just because we've come to love these wild guys and their exploits, that doesn't mean that watching Jackass was the best thing we could have done for our young minds.
Charge!
No matter how many times the show warned us that these pranks were best not tried at home, a brave few among us could not be stopped. After a few broken bones and a few severely crushed egos, we've all hopefully learned to leave it to the professionals.
Did I go a couple?
Number 6, Rocko's Modern Life. Back in the early 90s, Nickelodeon had a real thing for quirky animated shows about animals, chock full of dirty jokes no kid could ever understand. We almost went with the Ren and Stimpy show to highlight this very specific genre, but we've got another little creature in mind. Rocko's Modern Life has become notorious for being one of the most inappropriate kid shows to ever grace our screens.
You can't fool me. I can smell a beaver from 30 miles away.
It did feature some smart social satire, but for the most part, low-hanging fruit is what it chose to shoot for. With sexual jokes out the wazoo, there There's no way we should have been watching this show as young as we were.
Oh baby, oh baby, oh baby. Rocco. Mrs. Bighead?
Number 5, Family Guy. A lot of the cartoons we watched growing up might have been inappropriate, but at least they were marketed towards children.
I squandered my munitions budget on that insipid Rugrats video.
Family Guy, on the other hand, is decidedly adult.
I need it because I think I might be pregnant.
What? My God, are you sure it's yours?
Now, some of us probably came to this animated show in our later childhood years, but that doesn't mean we were old enough to completely get it.
What the hell was that?
Yet, watching Family Guy as a young preteen was almost like a rite of passage. Still, we didn't grasp the critique of American culture that's taking place, or most of the more meta jokes that Brian and Stewie are making.
Oh my God, what's with Meg's voice? She sounds like someone who's about to give up a huge opportunity.
Thankfully, it taught us to look for that kind of searing commentary later on. And it's pretty funny too. Number 4, Unsolved Mysteries.
A young housewife who disappeared. A local hero turned bad. An escaped convict. 3 people whose fate remains a question mark.
While it might feel like we've been experiencing a true crime popularity bump for the past few years, any 80s or 90s kid can tell you that we've had that fever for much longer. Unsolved Mysteries started in 1987, and though it has aired in fits and starts over the years, it still manages to freak kids out. The show is responsible for turning a generation of children into aspiring private eyes.
There was not a single clue to the strange disappearance and death of Kimberly Pandilios.
It's also definitely the reason so many of us can churn out facts about random cold cases from 50 years ago. While we have fond memories of Unsolved Mysteries, we can admit that the show was far too realistic and brutal for our young psyches to handle.
Join me for these intriguing and fascinating cases in tonight's edition of Unsolved Mysteries.
Number 3, Tales from the Crypt. The horror genre feels like something you would, or should, want to stray away from as a kid. Yet there sure were a lot of scary series that we ended up watching back in the day.
Well, hello there, boils and ghouls.
Some of us enjoyed reading scary stories to tell in the dark, or watching and reading Goosebumps. But the least kid-friendly option was the delightfully spooky Tales from the Crypt.
A tale I call Four-Sided Triangle.
Hosted by the always freaky Crypt Keeper, this horror anthology dove into every terror under the sun. And by virtue of airing on HBO, it did not face the same restrictions that some of the genre's other series did.
Naughty or nice?
Whether it be violence, nudity, or curse words, we saw it all years before we should have on Tales from the Crypt. Number 2, Are You Afraid of the Dark? When you were little, what were the sounds that went bump in the night that made you scared to get out of bed?
This is a warning to all who join us. You're going to leave the comfort of the light and step into the world of the supernatural.
What are the stories that still haunt you to this day? Well, we bet that a majority of those tales come from Are You Afraid of the Dark? This Nickelodeon horror series does not have quite the leeway that something like Tales from the Crypt did, but that almost makes it scarier.
Tell me that wasn't the best.
It had to be innovative in the ways it chose to scare us, and boy did it scare us. The show is centered around a group of kids who tell the audience different terrifying stories every week.
Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society. I call this story The Tale of the Dead Man's Float.
Between episodes, we just have nightmare after nightmare about what went down. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, South Park. This animated show encompasses so much of what we've discussed throughout this list. Are there dirty jokes? Is it high concept material? You can check yes on each of those boxes because South Park has it all.
I'm a cop, and you will respect my authority.
For most of us, watching this series introduced us to satire and humor in a way we hadn't seen before. Much like Family Guy, we started watching way before we actually understood what was going on. By the same token, we couldn't appreciate the social commentary, caricature, irony, and all sorts of other devices that are baked into each episode.
Cartman? Cartman saved the day? Can't be.
It's only when you revisit it in later years that you appreciate everything it's doing. It's no wonder the show is still so popular.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny!
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from Ms. Mojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.